So I was doing some research, Rob, for our topic today, and researching anxiety made me anxious.
Absolutely.
I couldn't believe the statistics that I was seeing because I know you and I don't deal with this on a day-to-day basis. We're not challenged personally by it, but we're surrounded by it. And you and I had some brushes with it, and we're like, we need to really talk about this. So how networking affects your mental health.
Absolutely.
And really want to take you to the wellness part, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think too is, as soon as you bring that up in your conversation of talking about mental health, it's always a very negative thing. Like you're saying, high anxiety and so on. But the thing again that we want to be able to stress to people is the fact that there's such we need to refer it as good mental health and how we can get there. So hopefully we'll be able to show you guys a couple of pointers today.
That's right. So here in just a few minutes, it's going to be super fast, but I think this is going to be really important. So welcome to Network Today. If you haven't been with us before, we're here to take you from meeting people to
making money
faster. And we are back after taking a bit of a hiatus. So several months as this new cool small yet large studio.
I like to refer to it as the best tiny studio in DFW.
That's right. The best tinier studio.
Tinier. There you go.
It was the best small studio before. Now it's the best teeny. It's like we go from an apartment to a little home.
Yeah, there you go.
Which we thought the apartment was small, but the tiny home was.
That tiny home. But kudos to our videographer, G, who did a great job of setting this up for us.
Yeah, that it's awesome. So I know we'll make the space work. And it doesn't change the fact that this is a really important topic, and we're going to continue to address important topics through this our journey here. And the subject of mental health isn't a real positive subject in and of itself. So let me tell you what I Googled, Rob, and what I came up with. So I Googled networking anxiety. Yeah. This was astounding to me. I wouldn't even have thought of this. I was hoping to get a list of kind of maybe medical things that are related to networking, but it said networking is anxiety.
Networking
that was that some of the articles and some of the blogs that I read actually said, I'm anxious thinking about networking. Networking conjures up all sorts of negativity for me. And I'm like, it doesn't for me. So that's important to know, right? That we're not like everybody.
Right.
Maybe some people do feel like the word networking creates anxiousness.
Right.
But aside from that, we live in a very high anxiety society.
Yes.
I feel like, and we all hate to go back to those years of lockdown, the whole pandemic part, but I feel like that kind of exacerbated. It made the world strange, like we weren't ready for it.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you on that statement. I think, the times have changed since COVID. And people, even though we're not in COVID anymore, but the anxiety is still there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I think when you suggested this topic, I think it's outstanding because I think it's time to address it. Hit it front on.
That's right, and not be afraid of it. I'm one of those who I kind of like jump over negative topics. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to know that you've got all these things going on, but the truth is people do. Right. So let's talk about it, and let's hopefully provide some tips that take people to kind of the wellness side.
Right.
So 2 situations, one you dealt with and one I dealt with recently, started this topic. Do you recall what you said this week?
Ooh.
Or it was last week, but it was recently.
Okay, right.
It was recently at a networking event.
Huh. Well, you're going to have to share that with me.
You said, hey, I haven't been networking in over a year.
Ah, yes.
I need to get out.
Yes.
I need to get out. So it's kind of like you had a networking lockdown.
Yes.
For life happens. It does. But I think what we've learned or what hopefully we learn, especially like through COVID, through the whole lockdown time, was what's our threshold for alone time? And don't make yourself be alone, especially if you want to get out. We're built for people. Now, I do have friends that they're like, yay, like I could never get out of my. I think that's the exception, not the rule. Right. Most of us have a threshold that needs to be that we're gonna that's going to hit at some point for being at home versus being out with other people?
Absolutely.
What's your threshold? How long can you be without being around other people?
Yeah, I mean it's a minimum. I'm talking like a couple of days. I've got to be. I'll call somebody up, say let's meet for lunch, breakfast, whatever. But yeah, it's not a long period of time.
Me, I found is a day and a half.
Day and a half.
So
yeah.
whatever it is, figure out what your threshold
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
because I believe that if you jump past that threshold and begin to isolate yourself too much, more than you're built for, more than you're capable of sustaining, then you can move yourself into these anxiety situations. And maybe you don't even realize it. So here are some statistics, and this was from thezebra.com.
Okay.
I was startled by this. 1 in 5 Americans suffered from mental illness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
these stats, I believe, came from 2016 and 2017 from the NIH. I'm not positive, but I think they did. Almost 6 in 10 of these, so 60% of those that are suffering, out of the 1 in 5, 60% are not getting any treatment.
Okay.
It's estimated almost 50 million adults had a mental illness, didn't recognize it. And more than half Americans will experience an episode of mental illness in their lives.
Wow.
Really?
That's huge.
And then I'm going back and I'm thinking, did I have a mental illness episode and I didn't recognize it as? But I think a lot of it comes from, and I could probably go back into my life and say, hey, I had a breakdown there. And I could probably attribute part of that breakdown to not having friends in my life to speak life into my life
Right.
and lock arms with me.
Right.
I tried to do it myself, and internalizing wasn't very healthy. So I love that we talk about networking, because networking is healthy.
Oh, absolutely. I think, the thing that saved me last year, the fact that, because business caused me to have to concentrate on my business more, where I couldn't get out to our large networking groups, but I still continued to network with my power teams. So I still had, it was minimum.
Yeah.
Wasn't like the big groups, which I missed, but that kept me healthy. It kept me from, getting into that deep anxiety or depression. So again, having that was very important to me. And again, it talks so much about when we are networking to get those people that are important to you, that can help you, and then you can count on them because they're there for you.
That's exactly right. I had to, going back to kind of my discussion with you, and you said, hey, I'm kind of feeling like I need to get out too. I'm missing people. Like, I'm kind of getting depressed. Mine was, I'd been about a day and a half, and I'm like, I know there are networking events on my calendar, and I'm going to go look at my very own calendar, and I'm going to put my doggone clothes on. I'm going to get out of my workout stuff, and I'm going to go see some people. And although I had to drive an hour to get there, and then I spent 2 hours there, another hour, so that was 4 hours, it was 4 hours well spent. That is an investment. Now, looking this up about anxiety, and one of the sites, it was a medical site, I think it might have been the NIH site, talked about this investment is social capital. So now,
Good
what does the
point.
word capital mean to you?
Money.
That's right.
Investments.
Investment into increasing your capacity. So I think that was one of the definitions that came out about when I was looking this up. What is capital?
Right.
So social capital means the people you're around help you increase your capacity, right? Up your game.
Right.
We make each other better.
Right.
So it's really personal development. Networking's personal development. So although we talk all the time about the making money, right? We want an ROI at the end of the day. Well, at the end of the day, the ROI ain't going to make no difference if you're depressed.
Right.
If you aren't investing into other people's lives and they're not investing into yours. So how do you invest in other people's lives to help keep their social capital?
Well, that's a big part of my networking routine, where I like to help other organizations, or when I'm on LinkedIn, I see somebody has a bad headshot or banner or whatever, then I want to call them up and let them know, come to my office. We give free professional headshots. We'll help you on your banner. So I want to help those people, and they help me by coming into my office, and we establish connection, and we try to build the relationship from then on.
Yeah, I say force yourself to have that one-to-one time. I think that's so good. And you really hit on something too. You're finding ways to help people at no charge. Right. And that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
When I go back through, so for me, when I want to give social capital to somebody, when I need social capital myself, well, the law of reciprocity is you want to give first.
Right.
So the way I give social capital to other people is I say, hey, I'm going to connect you with this person or these people as I promised I would, right? And so even though there's no money in it for me, man, the bounce back to me is a greater relationship. And typically, hey, Sheryl, let's get together for lunch. I thank you for that conversation that you helped create. And it makes me better, which then makes me socially richer because my capital's, and therefore I perform at a higher level.
Right, absolutely.
So for my clients now, I know that I'm performing at a higher level instead of in kind of a networking poverty, right? So if you can be in a networking surplus, when you're operating out of that surplus of your social capital, that's a beautiful place to operate, because now you're not struggling to find yourself. You're not just forcing yourself to get through the day. Everybody else is the fuel in your tank.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's one of my favorite books is The Go-Giver.
Right.
And and they just really stress that in that book, and it's the law of reciprocity. Again, it's just when you're giving to other people, it ignites my soul.
Yeah.
It gives me, it's the fuel for me. I can't emphasize enough that we've got to, give first.
Right. So here's just a thought. If you're feeling depressed at all, if you're feeling oppressed, if you're feeling just down, right? So maybe you're like me and I'm like, I have zero emotional intelligence. I just say, get over it. But there are days that you're like, man, I'm just not myself. I'm telling you, put your clothes on, go find a networking event, go find a friend to have coffee with. They may have nothing to do with the money at the end of the day for you.
Right.
But it is so, so, so important to have that fuel in your tank.
Yeah.
So can we take 1 minute? I know we're going to wrap this up, but can we take 1 minute to talk about how children, and I say that term loosely, say anybody really, between the ages of probably 15 and 25, and we're speaking to them at these schools, right, through our training that we've developed.
Right.
How do you think they're affected in today's world with this kind of this development that's been created over the last couple of years because of our circumstances?
Well, I think it all goes back to social media and the many platforms that people are watching and the screen time on their iPhones, that they're seeing what's going on in the world out there, and then they measure themselves against what they're seeing, and right then they're going, oh my God, I'll never be like that. And it's just all negative because they see themselves, I can't be that way. Look at all these fantastic people. Look at the competition. It's negative.
Boy, that's a great point. The image they're getting from social media. We used to get it from the magazines we read, right? So I want to be the girl on the front cover, but they're getting it from social media.
Yeah.
That's their benchmark for their success.
And they're seeing it, when in our day, when we saw like one magazine, now they're seeing hundreds and thousands as they slide through their phone.
Yes.
Hundreds and thousands of people that are doing it and they're not doing it.
Yes.
And boom, so their confidence level goes way down.
Man, this is so good. So because this is a whole topic that we should have a podcast on, is really just the pouring in to those age groups as adults and encouraging them. And so the two things is they're really tied to the electronics, so that negates the conversation, and so or replaces it in so many cases. The other thing is the image that they're getting, that they feel they can't live up to if they're not getting enough likes or whatever.
Right.
That's how they're
exactly,
and it's creating anxiety. So, wow. So we're here to make you well. How do you make yourself well? Put your clothes on and go see some people.
Yeah, build your inner circle.
Yeah.
Build your inner circle so you can feel relaxed and confident and go share things to people that are going to support you.
That's right. Man, this is good. So we'll talk about students, college and high school, and what it means for them in a different episode, because I think we just hit on something that's really important. And what's also important is that you save the date for 8/2, because what's coming down 8/2?
Connect Fest 2024.
That's right. It's Collection to Connection. We've got a whole day of amazing speakers. Going to be at Very Space Las Colinas.
Oh, that's a fantastic, incredible place, Sheryl.
I know. So save the date. We'll have ticketing information out to you soon. And in the meantime, my friend,
Let's do it.
cheers. Here we are at Network Today, where we take you from meeting people to
Making money.
faster. And we will see you next week.